Some people just come and watch, but if you feel free to share if you'd like. All right. Okay.
It's right here.
This library must be something going on with the library. No, she's the uptown librarian, I think, right? She is, yeah. I'm going to call the city council meeting for the city of Ashtabula to order. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024. If you would at this time, please stand for a prayer and a pledge.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to let your inspiration precede this council's actions and all present here today, and your assistance further us so that every word and work of ours may take its beginning from you, and so begun, may through you reach its completion. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Bell, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Roscovics.
Here.
Mr. Simeone.
Here.
Mr. Guerrero.
Here.
Mrs. Foglio.
Here.
Mrs. DiGiacomo.
Here.
Mrs. Mills.
Here.
Ms. Holman.
Present.
Mrs. Cooper.
Here.
Mrs. Augustin.
Here.
Mr. Timonier.
Here.
Thank you. We have met the requirements of the Sunshine Law. We have no presentations. We have had no request for an executive session. So at this time, we will proceed on with the approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
October 7th, 2024, regular council meeting was called to order at 7:00 p.m. by Council President Roscovics. Clerk of Council Ashley Bell offered the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance was recited. Present, Mr. Roscovics, Mr. Simeone, Mr. Guerrero, Ms. Holman, Mrs. Mills, and Mrs. DiGiacomo. Absent, Mrs. Foglio. Officers present, Mr. Timonier, Ms. Cooper, Mrs. Augustin, and Ms. Bell.
May I have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes in their entirety?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Mills and a second by Ms. Holman. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will approve the minutes by a 7-0 vote. We now move on to our administrative reports on City Council. I would like a voice vote to reappoint Ms. Kathy Eames to the Architectural Review Board. I believe she's serving completing her first term, and so she would be applying for to stay on the board at this time. I will make such a motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Foglio. Any discussion? Yes, yes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? She would be reappointed to that board by a 7-0 vote. Thank you. We will now move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few ordinances to ask for tonight. First, I'd like an ordinance to enter into a contract with Lampion Companies to repair damage and replace a street pole at the intersection of Main Avenue and West 44th Street, an amount not to exceed $11,350. Funding for this expense will be taken from the Permanent Improvement Fund 412.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move on the manager's recommendation.
Ms. Foglio moves.
Second.
Mrs. Mills seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it to our agenda by a 7-0 vote.
Next, I would like an ordinance to prepare and submit an application for financial assistance with the Ohio Public Works Commission and to execute agreements as required for the Michigan Avenue Sanitary Sewer Project with an estimated project cost of $311,000. This application shall include a local share of $124,400, $136,600 in grant funds, and $50,000 in loan proceeds.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move on the manager's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Holman and a second by Mrs. Foglio. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Manager, I know we talked about this in pre-council, but when would, estimated that all this would be completed?
We have 2 years to complete it from once the grant is awarded. So I doubt anything would start this year. Construction may be next year or the following, depending on how the plans go.
Okay, thank you.
And that's gonna go under the sidewalk? We're ripping up the sidewalk.
That'll all be part of the design. So depending on where all the other utilities are, we'll determine whether we can do it in the sidewalk. We prefer to do it underneath the sidewalk rather than the roadway.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it to our agenda by a 7-0 vote.
Next, I would like an ordinance to enter into a contract with Rocky Road Paving for various street cut road restorations in the amount not to exceed $16,200. Funding for this expense will be taken from the Water Pollution Control Fund 503.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move on the manager's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Foglio, a second by Ms. Holman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it to our agenda by a 7-0 vote.
And lastly, I have some appointments and reappointments to the Ashtabula City Port Authority. I would like to appoint Mr. Brad Bureau. He is the current terminal manager at Kinder Morgan Penny Dock to the Ashtabula City Port Authority effective immediately with a term to expire on January 28th, 2028.
All in favor of appointing Mr. Bureau to the Port Authority Board? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? He will be appointed to the board by a 7-0 vote.
Next are three reappointments. Mr. Brad Wells with a term to expire on January 18th, 2028. Mr. Ron Keister with a term to expire October 22nd, 2028. And Mr. Joseph Crane with a term to expire October 22nd, 2028.
All in favor of the reappointment of these three gentlemen to the City Port Authority? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? They will be reappointed by a 7-0 vote.
Mr. President, that's all I have for my report tonight.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for the manager at this time?
Mr. Timonier, would you give us a quick update on where we are with coverage at the Coast Guard?
Yes, Ms. Holman. So we did have a meeting last week. Senator Sherrod Brown was in town, and I believe also Congressman Dave Joyce was in town. Both have been tremendous advocates for reopening the Coast Guard station to 24/7 coverage. We continue to work with both the Coast Guard and our congressional leadership to put the pressure on to make sure that happens. Last year, after the 4th of July, right around that time, they started staffing the Coast Guard station on the weekends only. We would expect that to continue next year. However, we are advocating for 24/7 coverage at least throughout the summertime. But we won't know what their schedule is going to be until next year. That's why we're kind of putting the pressure on now to let our voices be heard that we do want the station open next year full-time.
Is there anything that we can do or organizations can do to elevate that voice?
Continue to be supportive, write your congressmen and senators, and those are probably the best avenues right now. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I do have a question. Do you have any updates on the Appalachian grant?
So we had our second call with Eastgate last week also, or was last week or the week prior. We are honing down the areas and the funding for each one of those so that we can start having meetings with the downtown merchants and building owners, discussing how that money is going to be distributed and how the plan is going to work on that. I am very adamant that we have a facade program, so we're trying to make sure that we have that as part of the program. Initially, the request that went into Eastgate, the Ashtabula County Land Bank held the facade program, and they applied for a couple $1 million for that throughout the entire county. That was not awarded. So I want to make sure within our funds that we can carve out enough to support those that showed interest. So that's the big kind of holdup right now, is making sure that we have money for the facade program.
Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. Manager, is there any updates on, I saw on Facebook, they're working on that pocket park in that building. So do you have a timeline on,
So that is not our project. That is a private project from a nonprofit company. I know that they have been working on trying to get that building down all summer. The contractor was finally available, so that's why that work started now. But I believe the pocket park is part of that Appalachian money. They'll be reaching out to Eastgate as well and having a separate contract or a separate grant agreement with them for the pocket park. All of the funding that comes in through Eastgate has to be spent by fall of 2026. So we're going to try to do the city's portion projects, the streetscape part of it, all next spring and summer. And then with the facade program, hopefully they'll have until fall of 26 to complete all of that.
okay. And can I ask you too, I know with Halloween this week, of course I have my witchy dress on tonight, but trick or treat is not this Saturday, it's,
November 2nd.
and the
yes.
time?
I believe we said 5 to 7. Yes.
5 to 7, okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just, you know, obviously, we're pleased with the East Great grant for Main Avenue. My thought is this holding up other activities? Because I know like Casa Capelli's was sold, we gave them a liquor permit, doesn't seem to be anything going on. Shay's Theater got a grant, doesn't seem to be, you know, Made on Main awarded some things I don't see. My hope would be that we're not waiting for the East Gate, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so there are a few projects that want to supplement their projects with
Yeah.
this money that's coming in and just want to know what's happening with that. Is it holding up those projects? I don't believe so.
Okay.
Because there's other work that can be done besides the facade program
Right,
to do that. Made on Main is actually doing a lot of work right now in those corner buildings where West 46th Street comes out onto Main, that little alley there. Those corner buildings, there's a lot of work going on over there. But no, I don't think this is holding anyone up
yeah.
from there. Again, there's a lot of people that have interest and want to do improvements to their buildings, but the projects, it's just a supplement to that. So the Shays Theater that you mentioned, that is actually a separate grant award that they got.
Right.
And we have been in touch with the owner and they are working that process. But there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to get the money and the design and all that stuff, so they're doing that.
How about Casa Capelli?
Have not heard much on that project since earlier this summer.
I know they're working on painting the inside.
There has been we have seen contractors going out, but it's been
Okay, well, that's,
a kind of slow roll over there.
you want to say something?
I have a question. As long as we're talking about Main Avenue and all the money we're going to be putting in Main Avenue, what about the municipal building? Have we heard, what are we going to do with that? We have to,
Right.
isn't there so much money we have to demolish it or take it down and we have to
So
spend it?
there were funds, we were waiting for the land bank to get the funds, and that was going to be part of that one. We don't think it's going to be in that round of funding for the most recent round of funding that came down. I did have 2 submittals when we did the request for proposals. The one submittal was extremely interesting. However, they did not have the funds to redo the building. They wanted us to redo the building and then lease it out. We can't do that. The other one was just 3 pieces of paper, and it was an idea on a piece of paper, and it didn't really go anywhere. So the next steps are to get the permissions we need and the grant funding to take it down at this point.
I think we need to start looking at that. Okay.
I agree.
Anything else for the manager? Thank you. Ms. Cooper, do you have anything this evening?
I do not, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Mrs. Augustine?
I do not, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Augustine. And Ms. Bell?
I do not, Mr. President.
Okay. All right. So we will get to our council committee reports. I believe there was a community development and economic development meeting last week.
There was, and I have that report.
Okay.
So our guest speaker was Leonard Stepp from ARMC, as people may know it as ACMC, but it is now ARMC. He provided the following information. The patient care tower is a new addition to the hospital. One of the hospital's priority is to improve the provision and the high-quality healthcare environment. The hospital also wants to recruit additional healthcare providers for Ashtabula County. Hospital officials would like to secure and grow family-sustaining jobs to support the local economy. The hospital was able to transition to all private rooms. The hospital has an education and conference center that is accessible to the community. The total project cost was approximately $115 million. There is an atrium and a public lounge area. Many of the new add-ons were made possible by philanthropic donations. The emergency department was able to expand from 18 rooms to 24 rooms. There are 4 rooms dedicated to behavioral health issues. There are 2 large triage rooms. The helicopter pad was relocated and is now heated. The sidewalks are now heated as well to keep the space safe and clear. There are now 5 operating suites. A robotic-assisted surgery program is now included in the facility. This addition was made possible by a donation from the Richard Morrison of Molded Fiberglass. A 2-way video conferencing software called Teledoc is now available. This service allows providers to conference in remotely to assist patients. The hospital has received paid and pledged philanthropic donations. The donation amount is approximately $8.5 million. Another large project is the hospital's Epic Optimization Project. This project supports scheduling, billing, reporting, and translation of information among the rest of the Cleveland Clinic Health Network. The hospital is ranked as one of the top hospitals. Fair share spending. ARMC is ranked gold by the Stroke Accreditation. Community is important to the organization. Hospital officials are always looking forward to adding value to the community. The ARMC is the largest employer in the city of Ashtabula. City manager's report. Their improvements at ARMC are a huge addition to the city. The inclusion playground at Walnut Beach is in the construction phase. Side note, I have driven by it. I'm very excited. It looks cool. City officials hope to have all the structures in place by the end of the 3rd week of October. The project should be completed by the end of the year. Amy Corson, the project administration of the Planning Commission, has played an active role in making sure the playground is installed. The smaller accessible parking lot will be put in place in spring of '25. The park staff will be transferred back to Public Works Department. There is a lot of activity at Smithfield, which I also have noticed. I drove by the other night. At the basketball court and the tennis court were being well used. The city officials saw new basketball courts are being utilized. The second call was from Eastgate. I think we already went over that, the Appalachian information in the Pocket Park. The tree in front of Walnut Beach sign has been removed. Several trees were also removed from the area, including a tree near Hubbard House. Len Jury provided the Parks and Rec report. The most recent meeting was September 30th. All members were present. No additional landscaping on the hill at Walnut Beach this season. No intention at all to move bocce ball courts. 114,000 people visited the park this year. Approximately 59,000 were unique visitors. Equipment for the inclusion zone should start arriving on October 1st, and the installation process will begin. Once all the equipment is up, sidewalks and landscaping will be completed. The Veterans Park was vandalized. Over 30 flags were destroyed. New flags were ordered. The next Parks and Rec meeting is October 28th, and the next Economic Development meeting is November 19th at 5:30. And starting in January, we are changing the Economic Development meeting to the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Giacomo. Anybody? I would just say with regards to the hospital, we know what a great thing it is and their addition. But I want to compliment the hospital for including landscaping in that project. A lot of times we get projects, things built, but they made sure they had a green space and they added a bunch of trees and shrubs. And I think that's really was a nice touch to that. And, okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Stepp did say that even some of the rooms that overlook the river and that's very therapeutic when you're, you're rehabbing after a surgery or whatever. There's something to be said about nature and that, that landscaping. So that's,
It's
thought
not,
went into that and the way the rooms were and,
right.
yeah, it's looking good. He did say, because I asked about the paving, because there's a lot of, if you're going in for lab or anything, you feel like you can't, but they're getting all that done and it should look even better, he said.
Somebody told me they might even put electric charging stations there, I thought I heard. Do you know if that, Mr. Timoneri, you know anything? I know you have.
I think they already have one there, but I don't know if they'll be open to the public.
Oh, yeah, they're just for the doctors, maybe? Yeah. Huh. I thought maybe for like drive-through, shocker, you don't have to go. All right, thank you, and I agree, Ms. Mills, thank you. Finance and Personnel,
Well, I'm not sure when my next meeting is going to be. It's canceled for this Friday. It may be the following Friday. We're going to see how the budget goes, and once the manager lets us know, we'll reschedule.
thank you. Public Works,
We actually have a meeting here tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m.
all right. Safety Forces meeting was canceled because it was on Columbus Day or Native Indigenous Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous People Day, so it was on that day, so it was canceled. So we will shoot for next month and see how that works out. Oh, November is going to be Veterans Day. Okay, well, we'll see if we have issues. We can move it to another week, or we'll see how that goes. But, all right, thank you. We won't be able to have it that day either. All right, there was no Planning Commission meeting this month. I believe there is going to be one next month. The Historic Preservation Committee did meet, and there was only one item on the agenda. Fat Sally's down the harbor is adding on, and they had come to the council before, or the commission before, and then they came back this month because he changed the roof lines and some door entrances and stuff. So he had those alterations approved by the Historic Commission, and they deemed that was fine. And then I was going to ask it this, last month we had the gentleman from the Harbor High School property come, I forget his name, he's from the developer. And I was wondering, now he's doing the football field project, but that's really no longer ours, it's the land bank.
Yeah, it's never been ours. That's always been owned either by the land bank or another investment company.
Okay, so we really don't have, because he's building a house. I think he said he had a couple more that maybe so. But my thinking on this, and I know I mentioned this before, I think it'd be nice if he built the houses and then sold them, because I really think we have a housing shortage in town. And I think if the houses were there, people say, oh, there's a house, I'm going to move into it, as opposed to saying, I want a house, but it's gonna take a year and a half or a year to get it, whatever. Now, I know, I'm not a developer, so I know that's an easy thing to say, because I'm not putting, my money all into that. But I always think that'd be a good thing if they would build some houses and then people can come along and, like they did, they sort of took a risk with the condos, they built them, and then luckily they sold them all.
Mr. President, so as I understand it, they do have the spec house going up now. I think that's already sold.
That's sold, yeah, he said that.
So there have been inquiries that if you actually meet with him, he has a book of several
Yeah.
different designs and several different price ranges. And I think he's had several inquiries. I don't know how many more are actually sold at this point,
Yeah.
but I think he's had a lot of inquiries
Yeah.
for those properties.
I think if you build them, people would say, they would look and they'd say, I'm gonna do that, as opposed to going somewhere else. All right, that was just my thought. And then we had our ad hoc committee, presentation this evening. Anything you want to add to that, Ms. Holman?
Just some direction on next steps, because a lot of work has gone into it,
Right.
and we just would like to collaborate on what should be the next steps for council in implementing some of the recommendations.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I would urge council to read the information that is linked to the presentation. And then I would think that we would, after we read that information, we will know more about equity studies and so forth, and then maybe that would be our, stepping off point or something.
Great. I look forward to it.
All right.
Mr.
All right, we do
President.
have, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, if you wouldn't mind going back to the planning commission just for council's notification, because this will be coming eventually. Most of you know in one of the latest windstorms, the Lamar sign on West Avenue was blown over and damaged. They're requesting moving the sign further north and lowering its height. That was approved by the planning commission, but that does have to come to council for final approval on that. We are working on a new lease because it has to move. The city actually owns that property there. So once we have all that together, we'll send you the information on it, and it'll have to come to council for an ordinance. But again, they're talking about moving it forward more to the north, so near the Griswold section. It still won't have any line of sight issues, but they also want to lower it, not have it as high as it was in the air.
Thank you. All right, we have 5 items of legislation. We are going to repeal a codified ordinance 93702 and enact a new ordinance, and I believe those are our sewer rates. And we've been announcing this for about 3 months. We first started talking about this in the summer, and there's been plenty of time for input. We are going to have the city manager enter into a contract with Lampion Companies to prepare an application for financial assistance for the Michigan Avenue area sewers, and to enter into a pavement with Rocky Road Paving for some cuts on the roads. Would anybody in the audience like to address any of these issues at this time? Okay, seeing no one, Ms. Bell, will you read us tonight's legislation?
Yes, Mr. President. Ordinance number 2024-122, an ordinance repealing in its entirety codified ordinance section 937.02 for the purpose of enacting new rates and charges for wastewater treatment effective January 1st, 2025. Ordinance number 2024-123, an ordinance enacting new entirety codified ordinance section 937.02 for the purpose of imposing new rates and charges for wastewater treatment effective January 1st, 2025. Ordinance number 2024-133, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Lampion Companies to repair damage and replace a street pole at the intersection of Main Avenue and West 44th Street. Ordinance number 2024-134, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to prepare and submit an application for financial assistance with the Ohio Public Works Commission and to execute agreements as required for the Michigan Avenue Extension Sanitary Sewer Project. Ordinance number 2024-135, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Rocky Road Paving for various street cut road restorations.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Is it council's desire to handle these items in consent agenda format?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Foglio, a second by Ms. Holman. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will handle these items in consent agenda by a 7-0 vote. Can I entertain a motion to waive the reading of the legislation in its entirety?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Holman, second by Mrs. Foglio. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 7-0 vote. Can I have a motion to waive the charter requirements of 2 readings?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Foglio and a second by Mrs. Mills. Ms. Bell, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. DeGiacomo?
So isn't the water, isn't this our second reading? Okay,
Yeah.
so,
So it doesn't matter because we're just waiving the reading of it the second time, right?
No, this is the second reading of it, so there's nothing to waive, you've already done it.
Okay. Is it okay if we include it in her, or do we need to separate it out?
You need to separate it out of the waiving of the second reading because you've already had a second reading.
Okay, so we're gonna, okay.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we cut that one out of the,
Okay,
Second that.
2. So we have a motion to waive the reading of the legislations on, 2 readings of the legislation for items 120, 133, 134, and 135.
Yes.
Can, Ms. Fogler, would you like to remake your motion
Yes.
to include 133?
Yes, I remake my motion to include 133, 134, and 135 only.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Ms. Holman. Okay, any discussion? Okay, will you call the roll, Ms. Bell?
Mrs. DeGiacomo?
yes,
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
yes,
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roscovic?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
So we will waive the 2 readings by a 7-0 vote on those items. Can, Ms. Cooper, can we vote on the passage of all 5 items now? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. We will now have a motion. We will now vote on the adoption of all 5 items of legislation. Would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
yes,
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roscovic?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. DeGiacomo?
yes.
All items of legislation have passed by a 7-0 vote. Okay? And thank you, Ms. Cooper, for keeping us honest, as usual. Mr. Timony, thank you. Okay. Is there any unfinished business before council?
Yes, I have one thing. I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Canvano. He was questioning about the golf cart legislation.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's got to go to safety force, but he just doesn't want it to go,
To die, yeah,
to
yeah,
die
yeah.
before next
Yeah.
summer comes out, so,
Mr. President, Ms. Fogler, that is something we planned on working on over the winter here.
okay, good, all right.
Can I have my
Mr. President,
I got one ordered. I'm all set. I do, yes.
I have something too.
Yes.
So it has to do with the homeless problem and the effects on our business community. I am a firm believer in that we promote what we permit. The past 2 weeks, I've listened to many business owners share their frustration with the homeless population. I have invited many people to tonight's meeting. I do see faces in the audience, but there were so many more that will be coming to future meetings. I just want them to share their stories, and I would encourage more people to come to council and share their experience. My goal is to have a dedicated police officer from West 58th Street all the way down and including the YMCA.
Thank you, Mrs. DeGiacomo. Anybody else? Does anybody have any new business? Does anybody have anything for tell us something we don't know?
I,
I do.
Mr. President, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Mills. Thank you,
I was
Mr.
back and forth with Drew Thomas yesterday. He's on the board president of the Geo Ministries. So they, I know we're just at Halloween, but Thanksgiving is around the corner. So they're going to do the annual Thanksgiving dinner again this year. They will have something in the paper, and there's a contact number. If you do need it delivered to your house, we will bring it to your house. We'll get there early that morning. We'll prepare everything. There'll be a list up at the different towers and all that. So we just want to make sure that everybody has something on that day. You can pick up at the Geo from 9 to noon that day also. So again, and if there's a need and you need it delivered, that information will be out there soon.
Thank you, Mrs. Mills. Mr. Guerrero?
Keeping with that Thanksgiving theme, the Knights of Columbus annual turkey raffle is November 3rd, and all of the proceeds for that goes to their charity account, which is used for various charities this fall and this winter. And everyone's invited. November 3rd, 4 o'clock, Mount Carmel Community Center.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and the time changes November 3rd as well.
Oh, the time change.
Time change.
Yes. Okay. Anything else? All right. I would just like to add, I went to the Fat Sally Trunk or Treat event on Saturday night. And this event has grown, I don't know what word to use, amazingly large. There were people there early, there were people everywhere. Kids and parents, everybody was just out. It was a beautiful night, luckily. They must have had 40-some cars with the trunks open and giving out candy and a lot of costumes. And it's just a wonderful event. So I really think Corey and Amy Nagel need to be complimented. I think they said it's the 4th or 5th year, but what an event. And like I said, it's just huge. It really is a huge event. And so many people, everything was free. Becker's Restaurant was giving out free chili and hot cocoa, and they had free pop and water and the candy. I mean, they were just giving so much candy out. I was thinking when they were giving out that candy, I'm glad I'm not teaching school anymore, because those kids would be pretty wound up. But, but it was a wonderful event. So I want to mention them and congratulate them on a wonderful event. And just to reiterate something else, what somebody else said this evening, if you have a chance to drive down Walnut Beach and see is it technically a handicap playground? How would we refer to it?
It's an inclusive playground.
Inclusive
Yeah, so it's
playground.
not strictly for those with disabilities, but it does service everyone.
Everybody.
Yep.
So it's inclusive playground. Thank you. It's just really impressive. You got to go down there and just take a look at it. It's going to be a wonderful addition. It's exciting to see. So thanks to everybody who made that happen. Okay, anybody else? Thank you. Thank you for our audience members who have sat patiently. This would be the time, if any of you would like to speak to council, if you would just approach the podium, if you would state your name and the city you live, the address, something where we could, identify that, and then you can share with council your thoughts. So just approach the podium, and we usually have 5 minutes. After everybody talks, if you'd like to add a little bit more, we usually allow that, but feel free to share with us your concerns.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I'm Christy Tobias from the Christy Tobias Hair Salon. I've been on Main Avenue since 1995. Main Avenue was my playground. My father had a business. He rented a building in the late 80s called Making Waves. So I've been on Main Avenue since I was about 12. Now I have my own. Main Avenue really was a beautiful area. I've had some issues with the city that's always been taken care of when I've reached out to Jim, and I appreciate all that. Past couple of years, Main Avenue has gotten so bad and out of control. I've witnessed people living at the gazebo with mattresses, queen-size mattresses, been there for a week, never said anything. Police ride by, everybody sees it, not just me. Nobody stops to say anything until I call. Pee bottles, sheets and garbage thrown around. I've had numerous homeless addicts walk into my place of business, making my coworkers and clients nervous. I've witnessed overdoses at the gazebo, people screaming at stop signs, red lights, and cars. I've seen people fighting garbage cans and throwing them around, which they are extremely heavy. They throw garbage into my dumpster that I paid for. I've had my awning graffitied on that I've had to replace. They ask my clients for money. I've called the police numerous times. Recently, there was a lady walking down the street with a dagger, complaining that she was screaming about, going after somebody. I called the police about it because it was in front of my business, and I was told people are allowed to walk around with knives. Even though my clients are coming in, they see all this, but nobody came. So, people are trying to make Main Avenue nice and have functions down there, but why? I wouldn't want my kids or grandkids around any of it. People feel bad for them. Come and stay at my salon for a few days, a week. You'll see they don't want the help. They don't want to follow the rules. People need to have rules of places that could help them. My back parking lot is owned by the city. Why don't we have light bulbs in the posts so we can see when we walk out of the buildings? Let's see. A place that we all went to when we were young, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, there has to be one of you up there that wants to say, look what I did for the city, I did that. I've been to multiple downtowns and they're so nice, and why isn't ours? Why has ours gotten so bad? How can we fix it? Why aren't we fixing it? What can we do to fix it? The people in the city elected all of you hoping for change. What has been changed with that? Can we do something? I want to be able to say, so-and-so changed this. We made a difference. I don't know. I mean, have you guys been on Main Avenue as long as myself and Jane? Do you remember when, I mean,
Yes.
why
Yes.
has it gotten this bad? How can we fix this?
Because we allow them, they don't
Correct.
want to follow the rules,
Right?
and we feed them, and I don't want to get on my high horse, but we allow it, but you can't arrest them if they don't do anything wrong. However, the things that you've said, I don't understand why they haven't been addressed. I can't answer that. The chief is here, hopefully, maybe. he
Well, why, okay, so one thing, and all of this, I had messaged Jim and the chief. Both of them seen it, and I did not get a reply from either one of them. But they had somebody went over and they had taken care of it. If there is mattresses and all this stuff laying in that gazebo, and I see this, I'm pulling in, and the police ride by. Why isn't anybody stopping and say, get rid of this stuff? I don't know. So, that's all I have to say. I
Mr.
really hope I see
President,
change.
Can I ask Mrs. Detour a question? Is there, I'm trying to look at the word, a specific time where I'm more concerned about the harassment of the customers than I am about we did pass an ordinance last time to clean up some of that other stuff.
So when does, since you passed that, when does that start, the cleaning up of everything?
I'm sure it starts effective immediately, based on manpower. But I'm more concerned about your customers being harassed going in. Is there a specific time when is this in the morning? Is this
Oh,
in the
it's all throughout
afternoon?
the day.
Is it, it's throughout the entire day from 8
Pretty
to?
much. I mean, there really isn't a specific time, no.
Okay,
I mean,
that's what I-
it's throughout
so
the
it's
day.
a-
I pull into my building about between 7 and 7:30, and it's already starting at the gazebo.
That early?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if I had to guess, they're
They
there
just
all
spent the
night.
night there?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Is it Christie with the C or with the K?
Anyone else who would like to address council?
Good evening, council and everyone. My name is Susan Smith, 5836 Jefferson Avenue, Ashtabula, Ohio. I am a customer at Christie's, and I will tell you, the day that I went, I came around the corner, and this woman was screaming and throwing flags and, I don't know, tearing up things at the Memorial Park. The police were there trying to get her. I was told that she was arrested. That wasn't the case. I guess she went to the emergency room, which I have a question on how that is handled. I turn around to park. Now, this is at 10:15 in the morning, because my appointment was at 10:30. I turn around to park. A man on a bike with several things on his bike and a backpack almost hits me as I'm trying to get out of my car. I wait for him to turn. He turns around, he comes up, and he says, "Give me money." Shut my door, I wait. He goes across the street to the dental office, and there are 3 more people on the bench, screaming and hollering at the top of their lungs, throwing things. Well, knowing that the police were already there, I didn't call the police. They were there on the other side. On Monday, I witnessed a person coming down the underpass, overpass, whatever it is, Circle K, coming down the middle of the road as I'm trying to leave, screaming, hollering, throwing things. I call the police, and I say, "Listen, this person is out of control. They're headed to Circle K. I don't know. They're going to get hit. They're going to hurt somebody. They're going to do whatever because they're out of their mind." So, I've lived here my entire life. What is going to be done to make us feel safe in our city? What's the solution? There has to be a solution. The other thing I want to bring out are these pop-up, they're not shelters, but they're, someone help me with this, transition homes. I just read in the paper, and it was on Facebook, about how one opened up and they don't even have ordinance for this. How does that happen? Can someone tell me? Can I ask where it is?
It was someone named Jeff, and another Jeff took precedence. I know, Mr., you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, so that happened because the person just purchased the property and opened up the business. When we found out that they were there, we've been in contact now to figure out what's going on there.
Well, I just asked, does the health department get involved?
Unfortunately, they are not regulated by the state. That is something that we have been told come January, that there will be more ordinances or more Ohio ORC. There'll be ORC code that comes out that deals with those for us to have better teeth with those. The other thing that we're doing right now, and these letters went out to the ones that we've identified as what they call either boarding houses.
That's the word I said.
There is code in the National Building Code that we have presented to the county building department, who oversees all of our permitting in the city when it comes to building regulations. there are submittals that these places are going to have to provide to them, which then tells them how many rooms that they can rent out, so to speak. And that is going on right now. So we hope to curb a little bit
Well, I
with
know
that.
your feelings. We don't want any more
Correct.
of that, right?
That and amongst a lot of other things, in my opinion.
So I'm asking council, what can we do? What can happen so we feel safe in this town? I mean, I'm not willing to risk going down Main Avenue to shop. I don't even want to get my hair done, let alone, I mean, I don't know. And I will give praise where it's due. The Smithfield is looking great. Everybody's using it. I think it's wonderful. Also, the playground, I had an opportunity to go down and take a look at that. That's great. I have little concerns about that. I know you don't have anything to do with Lakeshore Park, but I will share it with you. My granddaughters went there to do a photo shoot for the fall 3 weeks ago. They went into the restroom. There was a woman that came in, took my eldest granddaughter, pulled her hair, put her hands all over her. They called my daughter-in-law because they were so frightened. They didn't know the sheriff's number or the police number or who to call. As they were trying to leave, the woman screaming after them, "Give me all your money." So I don't know what's happening down there. I did report it to Brian Hubbard. That's all I could do there. Okay? Thank you.
I do have one more question, and I don't know if it would be directed towards Chief Snow, but it has to do with Square One and the people that get into trouble and they get sent to Square One to detox and then they leave. Why don't they go back to wherever they came from? I don't understand that.
I'll take it because, so there's a couple reasons. First off, from what we understand, they are offered that. There are drivers at those locations to do that. Sometimes they do call us to get involved if the people are refusing to return to where they go, but it comes down to a person's natural rights. I mean, we can't force them out of the community as much as people think the solution is putting them on a bus and just shipping them somewhere else. It's not lawful to do that. We strongly encourage them, very strongly encourage them to get in the car and go back to wherever they either were flown in from or driven in from or came from. But that's not always the case depending on the cooperation we get. And then, yes, it becomes our problem.
And to add to that, Mr. President, honestly, at this point, I don't know how many people at Square One are from out of state or out of the county. There are large numbers of people that are sent to Square One through our court system or voluntarily because they want the help. I don't know. I'm sure when Square One began that they took clients from wherever they could to fill it, but I would suspect that most of it is now county residents.
Well, I can say being on Main Avenue, Signature Health opened up. There really wasn't a big issue. Square One opened up, and there is a huge issue since all of that.
Different problems. The facilities handle different issues to a certain extent. Certainly the people who are going to Square One are in greater need of drug addiction assistance, mental health assistance, as opposed to Signature One, which is outpatient. So that may be
Well, I'm just thinking
part of
about
it.
people say Signature Health, and
Okay.
I didn't really start seeing this shit until Square One.
Okay. Thank you. Cool.
Yes.
I'm Stacy Stevenson. I'm at 683 Seven Hills Road. I own the bakery on Main. I'm also the foundation president for the library. So two kind of thoughts here. So we've been on Main Avenue with the bakery since 2020, but I grew up on Washington Avenue. So I've been part of Ashtabula for a long time. And a lot of the same things, I'm not gonna repeat what other people have said, but I also know that it's not a solvable problem by the people in this room necessarily as a whole. I will say that with working with, and I cannot remember his name that comes in the summer usually to patrol. Yes. He's always wonderful to work with in the summer with any issues that we have over the years. But what I will say is that I do think is maybe something that can be solved in this room, is that when we've asked him about large issues that we've had over the summers with encampments, visible encampments on the street, he said he was not able to remove any property because it is someone's personal property. And I asked, well, it's on someone else's private property. So if it's tucked under a business's doorway, is that still part of the city, or is that the building owner's property? And he said he can't remove that homeless person's encampment because that's considered theft. If that's true, like, these lines are very blurred. So maybe something that city council can tackle is what we can do when someone does put a box up underneath a business awning with a mattress in it and is actively fornicating with someone in it during the day, in the middle of the day, while I have my business open and I can see them. Can they remove that property?
They can get charged with public indecency.
They can, but I don't think they do, because I watched it happen. And they're told to leave.
Okay.
I would love to know so that the business owners know, because I stopped calling. I don't call non-emergency anymore unless I see, I don't call non-emergency. I would call 911 if I see something that's actively going on. But the response, and I understand, it's 24/7. She comes in at 7, I come in at 4 a.m. I come in at 3 a.m. There's activity. I'll drive around the block a couple times before I decide I want to walk in, because there's too many people out walking in front of my business at that time, and I don't want to get out and walk in. So it's 24/7. It's not just one time of the day. Like I said, I come in to start baking at 4 a.m., so I see it all. I've broken up active drug deals so that I can open my business. I don't have anybody come in and sit in my business. When I have, the view is not what I want my customers to have usually. So I would encourage, or my suggestion or ask is, what are the legislations in that district? What can we promote to change how things are handled? You know, this was a pile of, my specific example is there was a pile of, chairs and belongings that somebody had abandoned in front of a business. And we were told by the officer couldn't remove it because it was someone's personal property. I find that to be bad legislation then. If it's on a business property, why can't we remove it? I mean, I suppose I could remove it, and if that person really wanted to pursue it, they could sue me for removing their personal property. But what are these rules, and what is the legislation in the city? Is there something different we can do with the business district? But I know it's everywhere. You've got an encampment right behind your building right here. Yeah. I mean, on your property right now, because I walked around when I came in, saw it. And then my other ask is that, you involve, the Y is here, the library, Catholic Charities. They're great resources. Anything we do on Main Avenue is going to affect them as well. The library already, I just helped with their strategic planning session. And most of our discussion was about how they handle their homeless population within the library. So, like I said, I know there's not a magic answer. Firsthand, I know all of the reasons why people aren't taken in when there's a mental health issue. There's rules and laws about that. They aren't kept at the hospitals unless they want to be, so I know it's a huge challenge. But I would like to know what the legislation is on Main Avenue, what could be changed, how we handle abandoned property, and how we handle the encampments. I am open only 3 days a week now for a couple hours, and I cannot change that until something else changes. So we can dump money into businesses opening, we can give grants, and we can do that, but I'm not gonna have any walk-in traffic unless we change how we handle what is already there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe we passed legislation at our, that did cover the encampment. Yeah. So we just passed legislation at our last council meeting dealing with exactly what you're talking about.
So if I call, an officer could potentially move property.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Leonard Pratt, 717 Tall Trees Drive, Ashtabula, Ohio. I am currently the moderator for Ashtabula Area Ministerial Association. Okay? This same conversation that everybody's been talking about tonight, we've had that already with Mr. Timonir. We've had a couple meetings with him about this. This is the first time I'm approaching the city council. Okay? In the association, we've been asking the same questions that everybody here has asked tonight. We got the same answer that everybody's gotten here tonight. 0. We haven't gotten an answer. As the moderator for the ministerial, they actually want to know what is being done. I suggested to the clergy that maybe we ought to show up in force here at the council meeting just so that everybody in the clergy can hear what the answers to these questions are, what the concerns that all the residents of this town have, and exactly what the council is doing about it. Like everybody here, they just want to know one question. What are you doing about it? We've had a couple meetings with Mr. Timonir. We still haven't found the results from those meetings yet. So, like I said, I'm gonna, when I go back to my next meeting, I'm gonna suggest that all clergy in this town show up here. Okay? That way, if you have a, how do I want to put this delicately. That way, if you have a discrepancy, you can tell it to the clergy. Let them tell it to the Lord. And then we can go from there. Because a lot of people in this town depend upon city council, the managers, and everybody else. Our lives depend on it. Okay? And if we're not getting answers to the questions that were asked, and there's going to be some specific questions that are going to be asked. Okay? I want you to look them straight in the face and say, this is what we're doing. This is how we're handling it. How can we, the ministerial clergy in this town, they see everything that these people said today. They see it. City council, there's a person living right in front of McDonald's down here on Route 20. Okay? Why? That person don't have a home? What housing, like, somebody mentioned housing tonight. How's the housing for these people? Are they still living down in the Gulf? They have tent cities down there? What about the warming centers? We're gonna get winter here in about another month and a half, if not sooner. What are we gonna do, let somebody freeze on the street? Or do we have an issue with that? Like I said, the next couple, 3 or 4 meetings, clergy will be here. We'll be here in full force. I thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something? Just this weekend, in fact, yesterday, I had a call from a person who's in the choir at my church who was at Burger King on Route 20. And there was a homeless couple. And he's calling my mom, who was with me, to find if there was any place he could go So the first thing I mentioned was Catholic Charities. Oh, no, they've been there. They got their voucher from Catholic Charities. Then I mentioned Samaritan House. No, they had already been there to Samaritan House. And I can't remember what else right now that I mentioned to them, but they had been to every outlet in the city for help and got their vouchers, and now we're this kind person. I think they were probably trying to get money off of him. But the problem is it's not that there's not places here to help these people. Like you said, we allow them. They don't want to follow the rules. There has to be some consequences, and I'd love to give you an answer. I don't have an answer. Working in the court for all those years, I've seen people come. I've seen people go. We've given them money. We've tried to take them to the Donahoe Center, from the cab from the municipal building to the Donahoe Center. They don't make it. They get out because they don't want to follow the rules. Something has to be done. I don't want to see your businesses suffer. I really don't. I feel sorry for all of you. And Main Avenue was a wonderful place at one time. I don't know if it's Signature Health. I don't know if it's Square One. I don't know what it is, but we have to get a handle on it, because you're here crying, and we've got to do something about it. I don't know what, but I feel for you. I know your dad's business. I remember your dad's business.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Deanna Cole, Christian Faith Academy, 4322 Park Avenue. For us, we needed to leave, so, which we did, and I am very thankful we did, especially just what we've seen at North Park over the last couple years. We were on Park Avenue since 2008. And it was an amazing place back in 2008, and we could even take the kids over there, have gym or things like that. And just through the years, we've seen it just dissipate, just as you all have. And I know I sent an email to Jim over the weekend, which, it being Monday, he may not have been able to read it already, but I'm just gonna, for me, I'm gonna read a few of just dates specifically over the last month that I've had to call the police, and I do appreciate, they have been very supportive. They know, unfortunately, they know me by name. And but like on 10/3, I received a phone call that there was, with the breakfast at the Baptist church, amongst the homeless, they were claiming that they were living at 4322 Park Avenue in the building. So I called John Paul at the fire department, and thankfully they went over and did a walkthrough, and nobody was living there. But they do, unfortunately, these are pictures just from today, go down in the stairwell, which is attached to our building. And I mean, this is what's happened in the last 4 to 5 days. And I sent some pictures to Jim, but these are pictures that are new as of today that I took. And I mean, and we're trying to sell the building. Our realtor showed up and she sent me this photo on Friday, of, this is our entrance to go into the building. And so it's just frustrating being a business owner, and then also trying to sell the business. If you guys want to see Main Avenue flourish, I mean, we would love to have somebody come and purchase that building and do something with it, but it's hard to promote it. On 10/5, we had to call the police. There was a few people in the pavilion. 10/7s, this is the belongings that were there. I would say it was a mattress of some sort. Our lawn care business would not mow the lawn until the homeless would leave the property.
When you talk about the pavilion, what, are you talking about the gazebo, or are you talking
No,
about?
this is our pavilion on our own private property.
And where's that, on Park Avenue?
It's
I'm-
on 4322 Park Avenue. It's
trying to- I'm
it's
trying
on
to
the east
visualize.
side of our building.
Okay,
Like the Park Place, that
Yes.
is the brick road.
Yes.
That's where the pavilion is.
Okay,
So,
okay. Night pavilion.
on 10/4, again, our lawn, or 10/14, our lawn care guy went to the property. There were 3 people under the pavilion, 2 in the stairwell. I called the police and asked them to leave. I don't have personally the dates, but I know I went there on a Sunday evening. There was a guy down in the stairwell, and he was fumbling in his bag, and I don't think he could pull out a gun, but after the fact, I'm like, oh my goodness, he could have pulled out a gun and shot me. But I asked him to leave, and he said he was using it as a dressing room. I says, well, go find somewhere else to dress. And then when I was in the building, I called my husband, and he said to call the police. There was a car that came in the parking lot and sat. So then I did call the police because I wasn't feeling safe. I was just popping into the building and was going to leave, but I just didn't feel safe. And then on 10/18, I showed you the picture that the realtor went to the property, and that's where the stairwell, there was the bread blanket and somebody down in the stairwell. So we were told to put up more trespassing signs. I mean, we do have trespassing signs. When I'm there and there's somebody there and I ask them to leave, they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't see it. So today, we put up more trespassing signs. And to me, that is not inviting at all. But that's what we were told to do, so that's what we did. And so I guess, as everybody's asked you, we need help, we need a solution. So I guess, and then I know there was at the last meeting, there was is it a new ordinance or is it an amendment to an ordinance
It's a new ordinance.
about not camping on public property?
Not camping on the streets or on the sidewalks, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I guess, so what I see, since North Park is such a problem and we're right next to North Park, what does that look like for us as a private business owner? I would think that they're more apt to come our way then. So what rights do we have as business owners in asking, I mean, I know we have no trespassing signs. Like, do we call the police and they're going to get arrested?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. President, may
But I called the police. They're tired of hearing from me.
Well, too bad. But, I mean, that's their job. And I think the chief would say the same thing. When people are on your property, whether you own a business or a home, you have the right to regulate who's gonna be there, within reason. You can't keep people out, based on the discussion we had at the beginning, you can't keep people out because of certain things that they can't control, but if somebody is on your property sleeping, you call the police, they charge them with criminal trespass, they're removed. They could go to jail, they could just get cited. It's a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. We have 12 cells, 15 cells? 12. So, unfortunately, they're usually full with people who have committed more serious crimes, but at least we move the people on. Same with your business. If they're under your awning, that's your property, it's a criminal trespass. Police department cites them and they have to move.
Usually they don't get cited, they just have them pick up their alcohol
Right.
bottles and move on.
So that's where,
They should get cited for criminal trespass. If they're standing in the middle of the street yelling and hollering profanities,
yeah.
they should get charged with aggravated disorderly conduct. Or at the very least, disorderly conduct. They should get cited into court. When they get cited into court, the judge does try and deal with some of the mental health issues or some of the drug and alcohol issues. That's why I say folks get sent to square one, because she does make that a condition of their bond, that they at least get assessed if drugs and alcohol are an issue. but we can't make them, I shouldn't say that. Generally speaking, if you just send them for an assessment, you can't make them stay. There are a lot of folks that she sends there under a court order that we then have to put out warrants for because they escape. They just don't want to stay. You can't force somebody into treatment if they don't want treatment. You can't force somebody into an apartment if they don't want housing. You can't force somebody into a shelter if they don't want to go. You can't force them to leave Ashtabula if they don't want to leave. It's their right, constitutional right to live where they want. And I know it's not the popular answer, but we can't make them move. We can keep them off your private property, but we can't make them leave the city. It's just not lawful.
Well, are they allowed to stay at North Park and spend the night?
Right now, I think that would, well, there are park ordinances that they're not allowed to stay at the night.
Well, I would just probably go drive by, because there was a few conveniently making their bed while we were putting up our trespassing signs.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Tia Woodard, 31 East Erie Street in Jefferson. I am the membership director at the Ashtabula County Family YMCA, which is a job that I love because I get to help people in many different ways through the mission that the Y has to improve our community and the people and their healthy mind, body, and spirit. But unfortunately, like many businesses in this neighborhood, we are negatively affected by the presence of people loitering on and around our property, as many of you have described in great passionate detail, so thank you for those details. I'm here to express appreciation for the efforts we're making. This conversation is a positive thing to have. So thank you for the city's efforts, all of the efforts, the police department, everyone here, for everyone's efforts towards monitoring and improving the situation. The YMCA has guiding principles. One of those principles is caring, and today I'm here to express caring for our neighborhood and for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time?
Mr. President, if I could just say a few things. First off, I think what we really need to do is bring some of the agencies in that we work with daily and that work on this issue daily, so you can actually start to hear some stats of what they deal with daily, whether that be mental health, homelessness, whatever that case may be. I'd love to start to have you hear the stories of people who are in this community that are sometimes praised as champions of the homeless, that we are getting reports of. They're telling people, do not go to Catholic Charities, do not go to community action, do not go to community counseling. They will hurt you, but come to my room for $600 a month and I'll take care of you and I'll be the savior of everyone's life when it comes to that. So I think you need to hear that story, because that's a battle that we are fighting tremendously. When I brought everybody together, as you mentioned, with all the clergy and all of these agencies, one of the things that I've been pushing on for 2 years and getting no traction on is a day center. A day center where we can have people out of the gazebo, a day center where people can go for a meal, that we can have these services in one location, that we can start addressing some of these issues with those that want to be helped, gaining some confidence in those that have been told this over the years, that they shouldn't go out and reach out for these agencies that are out there to help, and try to find the housing and try to find the mental health services, because really, folks, that's what this is all about. 99.9% of this is mental health. As somebody mentioned, with our local mental health agencies, I wish there was a lot more that could be done. Back in the day, you used to be able to institutionalize people, and there were institutions for people to go to get help. When the United States did away with that, and when Ohio did away with that, you then had the opioid crisis right on top of it, and it created kind of what you see here today. When I did talk about that day center, and maybe this is the place where, instead of people walking over to here to get breakfast and walking over there to get lunch, or people coming to the park. And by the way, you'd be amazed how many people go to those that are in the gazebo and say, never give this gazebo up. If they tell you to move, don't move. This is your gazebo. That happens. People right in the neighborhood, as a matter of fact, tell them that that's the case. So we're dealing with a lot of different factions there, and a lot of people that feel like they need to be in a silo and they're going to do everything on their own, when if we all come together on this, we can start solving a lot of issues, and we start getting rid of the bad actors in this, which I think is coming real soon. I think we're going to continue to move this forward, but I really do believe you need to hear from these agencies of the amount of people we are finding housing for, the amount of people we are getting into mental health, the amount of people that we are getting into different substance abuse recovery and different things like that, and the houses that are actually working, because there are houses that are working. There are houses that it's just a cash flop, and we know that. And those are the things that we are trying to address. So to say we're not doing anything about it, maybe we're not doing a good enough job of showing those stats and showing those numbers. I can send you guys the jail reports every week of the people we have in jail. Most of them all have mental health issues that we're dealing with, and when they come to our custody, we're responsible for them. We're responsible for their care, their medication, all of that. So to say we're not doing anything about it, I do have to push back a little bit. What we're not doing enough of is telling people the stats and the stories of what we're encountering, just like I did here. So I will take responsibility for that. But the chief and I, for a couple months now, have been trying to figure out how we can dedicate a person again for Main Avenue. We have 4 retirements coming up next year. We're extremely concerned about filling those, let alone finding a dedicated officer just for Main Avenue. So those are just some of the real high level things that we're doing right now.
Mr. Manager, if I could go off of that, I think that there's no doubt that we're not doing anything, and there's no doubt that we have everything here to help these people. My question is, and I know you all are, why are they here? Why are they in Ashtabula? You don't see this so much in Jefferson, Conneaut, Geneva. You see it here.
I would disagree with that, because I actually had a trip to Conneaut the other day, and the entire way out, as some people have mentioned here on Route 20. And by the way, some of the people that we see that we think are like the famous people, like why has anybody helped them? They have homes. They have Social Security income. One of the individuals, when they go off the medication and things, they don't like to go back to that home because there's people in the walls telling them that they shouldn't be there. So there's a lot of these people that we have all heard about tonight that actually have apartments, that are actually getting assistance, but have that mental health unfortunate problem that doesn't allow them to stay under that housing, which is a shame. And that's where I think there has to be a huge change in the way that we deal with mental health. But this issue is, and Ms. DiGiacomo knows this. She called a meeting with the Ashtabula Township Park Commission to see what we could do about it. There's been really nothing that came after all the pressing that we did, and all the solution or the ideas that we presented. Nothing's been done. But one of the things that we said a long time ago, and do I think the numbers are increasing here? Sure, the numbers have gone up. I think it's more visible now because, as I've said, we have vacated a lot of houses because a lot of houses are now being either torn down or revamped. So where people were squatting, they're now out on the street. And as I said, as we remove people from the Gulf, they're going to come to Main Avenue. And that is another portion of what you're seeing as we continue to go after camps that we find and different things like that, and trying to get people out of the Gulf. We're trying to get the housing. We're trying to get them to agencies. Those that don't, wander. And this is where they end up because, as I've said, a lot of the social services for those in need are located right here. And that's what we're dealing with.
Can I ask a question?
1 minute.
What?
1 minute, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, she can go ahead. Yeah, you go to the podium, please.
It's just so we can get you on the recording so they can hear it
Yeah,
for the minutes.
we have to have we have to have a recording of everything that happens.
So we have all of these social services. like, are they tasked with the fact that someone is mentally ill? They have a social worker, correct?
I don't know the intricacies of that, but I would imagine that's the case. As
Okay.
again, and this comes down to those that want help getting those assistance, and those that don't and cause issues in our community have to be dealt with the police department and specifically our courts.
Okay.
That's where,
Well, I'm
for
just-
those that are causing issues and don't want the help and aren't changing behavior, that's how that has to be dealt with.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you have a social worker, do these social workers check on them? Just make sure they're getting their medicine, and what types of things? I saw an interesting thing on YouTube, and I can't remember the city and the state, but they actually have, like you're talking about, a whole center. Social services there, they have help to take their medicine. If they don't take their medicine, then guess what? They're gonna be housed, they're gonna be staying there. So I'm just wondering, we have all of these wonderful things. What can they do? I've been to meetings, I've been to two that you've had with all of the services. And again, what they say is, sorry, if they don't want help, we cannot help them. But these are mentally ill people. They need help.
That I think is one of my biggest concerns, and that's not legislation that this council can devise and my administration
Right.
can act on. But I believe it's in Florida. I don't want to get this wrong, but I think it's called the Baker Law or the Baker Act, where they have changed their state legislation in a way that it designates certain agencies or individuals that can declare somebody mentally unstable and have them institutionalized. That is something that we don't have in the state of Ohio, and actually is something I spoke to a person running for a state office after our last meeting. That is one thing that needs to change. But that would help out, because right now, if we find somebody that is, we feel, a danger to themselves and a danger to others, there is no, or it's a very challenging mechanism to get them declared, what's it, incompetent is the word? To get them declared incompetent,
Okay.
and to be sent somewhere for help.
So let's work on that.
I would love to.
Let's work on that. I'd be willing to help in any way I can. Let's work on that. The other thing is homes that are, there's this particular home, you've probably heard about it on Madison Avenue. The woman was here at one of the meetings. They're still there. And of course, they're walking down where I live and 58, you know, they carry knives, they scream, they take their clothes off, they go to the bathroom. When I talk to Mr. Nelson and when I've called up to housing, I'm told there's nothing they can do at that house unless the water's turned off.
There's nothing that can be done to vacate the home.
Right.
Yes, so I shouldn't say that. There's nothing that can be done. Having the water, not having utilities at the house, specifically water, is something that we can vacate a home for, because you have to have those services for health and safety and all that stuff at the home. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is a owner occupied, so it's not a rental. So that means that we don't go inside to do an inspection. We can only do exterior type things, and I do realize that the house is deplorable on the outside. I think they've been cited for all those things. The person was arrested after the meeting, and I guess is going through the court system now with that.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.